going to try to make this not too long as you all smell the food and feel the energy. Ever since I got here this evening, before the first person started to speak and just lend your knowledge and energy and your thoughts, there's such a powerful force here. There, just with so many people, and it's a beautiful energy. It's a strong and powerful energy, and I've just been absorbing that. It makes me feel. Our words, our presence make each other feel. So I'm going to do my best just to keep the positive feelings. I know that we're in a city, we're in a time, a family, our relationships. We're dealing with a lot. Some may be positive, some may be healing. Some of us need so much. This is one of my first few Kwanzaas without my father. I'm not sad. When I was asked to speak this evening, that wasn't my initial thought. But I think most of that energy that I feel is my father's energy flowing here with you all. So I'm going to just bring him into this space with us. Because he's here. And I want to acknowledge our elders. And I want to ask you all to just rise with me, help lift me up. So if you could all just lift each other up. Many of you here knew my father, felt my father, still feel my father, supported him. But there's so much happening in our city, and I just want to acknowledge the power of our energy here and the strength of our voice and the importance of our breath. And I want to invite you all to just breathe with me. Inhale the positive energy and relax yourself and be ready to receive everything that's happening and all the energy that's flowing. And exhale anything that you just need to release. And release it as heavily as you have to. And breathe in as deep as you have to. And just breathe in. And before you release that last breath, I just want to tune into the vibration of our voice. And many times we'll lead with a prayer. And I just want us to meditate in a moment with our own prayer of energy, our own thoughts, and be in tune with ourselves. And then many times we'll follow with a moment of silence. But I affirm, we affirm together that we have been too silent for too long. And what will follow next is just a powerful vibration as we lift our voices together. And as we meditate and think and pray within ourselves, I want you to just think of the energy that you want to put out in the world. Little people, you have a big voice, our children, our elders. And on the count of 3, I want us to have a moment of noise and raise your voice as loud as you can because we've had far too many moments of silence. 1, 2, 3. Give thanks. So, however your energy is, please feel free to have a seat. I made some notes as I came in and felt the energy in the room. First, I'm so honored. I give thanks to the elders for welcoming me and allowing me to speak and giving me permission to be here. I give thanks for the children for sitting patiently and listening and opening yourself up. I give thanks to all my brothers and sisters and peers who are in the room because we all have such great knowledge and wisdom to share with each other. And all of our voices are as valuable as each other. So please feel free to speak and to share with me, and I give thanks for that. It's interesting what I heard once people started sharing because they're in line with the energy that I felt coming in. One of the first things that I wanted to share with you comes from a book that I'm reading. And as we listen to the words and as I prepare to continue to share words, I want to share something with you from a book. And I'm going to start with who I am. Today, along my journey, I became the CEO and founder of One Village Alliance. But I want to start back a little bit. Many of you know a lot more about me, but I just wanted to share and connect in a real space of humanity and sisterhood here this evening. And this book is based in Mexican heritage. It's a teaching of La Toltec. I've always been very strong and rooted in my Mexican culture, which we always refer to as ourselves as Blaxican, because we are Black, African, and Mexican, and we've been well cultured. I've celebrated KWANZAA ever since I can remember, with the drummers and Baba Kamal and Mama Pat, many of those who are in the room, but also just my parents taking us to Philly and celebrating KWANZAA. So this one teaching is one thing I want to share with you, to hope that you take something out of this space to be greater in our collective work and responsibility as we move forward. And there are 4 agreements, laws of the universe, that we must agree with ourselves and with each other. And the first one is to be impeccable with your word. Can you all say that with me?
That's right.
Be impeccable
with your word. It is a law of life that helps us not only with self-mastery, but with the mastery of love. And I want to go right from who I am to talking about love. Be impeccable with your word. That means speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself. Avoid using the word to gossip against others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Okay? I just want to leave you with that agreement to be impeccable with your word. How I grew up on a 7-acre farm in South Jersey. My mom, when we talk about being sovereign and sovereign people, as we think about being impeccable with our word, we have to understand our sovereignty and realize that if we can be free, but if we think we're being held in captivity, then we're not free at all. So we can be sovereign and feel like there are things we actually need to do to be sovereign, but in reality, our mind is allowing us to strip our own selves of our power as sovereign indigenous people. So I just want to bring that up. We grew up on our land, which was a 7-acre farm. My father was a longshoreman here in Wilmington. And we started, collective work and responsibility makes me think of how I used to have to go out, and farm the ground and milk goats and do this work that my 8 brothers and sisters and I had to do with my mom and dad and the cooking and things like that. So we grew up in a lot of reality and truth and calling ourselves to being called to action and having to be responsible and accountable for each other. And especially now during the holidays, I have a close friend who works really hard. He's an extraordinary father. He has a daughter, and he did all this work. And then here comes his 2-year-old, and it's like, Santa Claus came last night. And I'm looking at him like, you didn't tell her. Like, but you actually did. So just speaking truth to our children, and being very deliberate and intentional about not only the work that lies before them daily, but also the work that's been done before us. As we dream and as we look for this American dream, we really have to recognize that we are the dream. There are so many people who came and worked before us that we have to really appreciate and understand that we are that dream. And as we think about hope and the lack thereof, we want to speak the truth and reality of really who we are as a people. Because as long as we continue to speak against ourselves, we'll hold ourselves in a place of captivity and hopelessness. And there's such greatness that lies within us. I mean, we have business owners in the room who have inspired me. Salimata, you're still one of the greatest educators I know as far as your impact with children. There are young people, there are elders here who are just doing such a great thing, and we're doing it in unity. And we continue to speak other things as a people about how Black people do this and don't do this, and we need this, and we don't come together. One thing that we can do, no matter what the food is looking like on the table, we can come together, we can cook together, we're in the kitchen, we eat. It doesn't have to be a big house. We always have that, how many of you are celebrating the holidays and the table couldn't accommodate everybody, but somebody found a little folding table for the kids. So oftentimes we gather so closely in such unity that there's hardly space for all of us to be together. The only thing that I always dreaded about a KWANZAA celebration when I was growing up, because we went to Philly, and it was a bunch of, family and friends, but there were people that I didn't know, and we had a real unity cup, and everybody had to pass that cup around, and sip from that same cup, and we would look forward to the drumming, we would look forward to the elders, we would look forward to playing together as children and running around. But when it came time for that unity cup, it was like, who can stay in the bathroom the longest? And it was only one bathroom. So, but we were in unity and we appreciated that. And now one thing I notice when we get together for the holidays, there are things happening in our community and some really institutional, systematic, and structural designs to keep us apart, but that's okay because we just have to be just as intentional about bringing us together. And I have little nieces and nephews that are like 1 and 2, and when I tell you everybody had a cell phone in their hands, everybody had a cell phone in their hands. And one of the things, my son is in college now, I have so much to be grateful for. But when he would come, his friends would stay at my house because I cook all throughout the holiday break, and they would just come over for their school break, and they have to check in their cell phones, and they're teenagers, but they love being there. But sometimes we just have to kind of turn it off and guide our own children and protect the dream that our ancestors and forefathers and mothers have birthed, which is us and our children. So we have to protect that truth protect that dream with truth, with our words and our storytelling, and we have to protect that truth, that dream with the truth about who we really are, because all of this, life, is about one thing. It's just about love. No matter what your spiritual journey, no matter what your religion, no matter what it is about love. And who do you have to love first? You must love yourself first. Even to find your God source, you must love yourself first. In order to love ourselves, we have to know ourselves. And our children are relying on us for that truth, to tell them and to show them who we really are. And sometimes it's like, well, where do we start? Start with your child, telling them who we are and who we're not, showing them by getting up every morning. We didn't sit down for a workshop every morning. We watched our parents get up and go to work. My parents were business owners. My dad was a retired longshoreman, but he was also a bamboo craftsman. And my mother owned a Mexican restaurant, and people thought we were so cute because I'm 5 in a uniform. It was child labor, but those laws came around later, or just because we were the staff, so we had to work. I asked my son, I'm paying for my son to go to the University of Delaware. I have my young Gary Johnson here, who's also a student at UD, and the president of the NAACP there. I'm very proud. Gary Johnson, and I'll say more about him, but I want to, be quick. I asked him to pick something up for me in the BMW car that I bought him when he turned old enough to drive. And he said, "You got me driving?" I said, "Boy, it's on your way home from the college that I'm paying in the car that I bought you with the gift. Stop and pick it up." So we have to check our children. We got to check each other, and we have to bring this together in collective work and responsibility. We have a responsibility to ourselves, to our families, to our ancestors, to our homes. We have a responsibility to each other, and we must do that in unity. And we do it in unity, even without saying a word. I know Mama Nzinga got up every day and opened her store. And things that I just watched you all do, Mama Pat, African rites of passage that people still talk about. Yes. You have made legacy moves, but there are people working together in groups smaller than this and rooms smaller than this to really build strategies to keep us divided, to build a destiny and define a destiny for our children, our black males, that says they're going to end up one of 2 places by the time they're 25. but they're giving a narrative, they're telling a story, they're teaching. And the thing that happens, the amazing thing that happens, not just with children, but with adults, when someone tells us something, what do? We believe it. Our children believe it, our mothers raising sons believe it, our fathers, our men believe it. We believe that our black men, are not great fathers and great mentors and have great value to invest in the lives of our children. And they do. So, it's just very important that we love ourselves, like this brother just said. We're in the information age. We can find out who we are, live in that truth, but first we got to do what? We got to tell that truth. We have to speak that truth and speak it clearly and speak it broadly. So our heritage, our culture, our roots, that is very important to us. We're indigenous people. We already have sovereign rights as people. We have to follow the process and walk in that knowledge, because other people got the right to defend themselves and they're shameless about it and heartless about it. We have the right to defend ourselves and defend our children, clothes, food, shelter, all of those things. Our family experiences, we have to be intentional about the family experiences, not only as parents that we share. There's been a real attack over the last couple generations on our parents. There's been a war on drugs. There's been all these drug epidemics that have been dropped in our community, right? Now what we're still seeing is a war on poverty, which is really a war against people in poverty. So whether you're an adult raising a family or children, I think as much as I've worked and prayed and really tried to raise my son, he's really raised the mother and the woman that I am just as much. So we play a very active role. As children, you play an active role in helping to raise your family and your siblings as well. Your source, really connect to your source and your spiritual health. That's so important in this time. You have to stay connected with it. And the biggest thing I think that helps us connect, and this is not a religious teaching, but just a spiritual, you cannot connect to your source if it's never silent. If you always have on music or the TV or the radio or the internet, it's hard to break away. Sometimes you just start Instagram and it's like all night. So just be silent and then really tap into your source. And then my work, we have an entire generation. I wanted to, one of the things that really compels me, just great leaders, Asada Shakur, phenomenal, powerful, young sister when she started this fight for our rights and against things that were wrong. Brother Malcolm X, just a great leader who I've always admired. But there are young leaders, children coming up right now, leading movements like the Black Lives Matter movement. There's this young sister, Malawi, who's at 11 years old, was fighting for girls' right to go to school in her country. And there was an attack on her life. By 16, she was a Nobel Prize winner. So find out who these young leaders are. Whatever you want to be, do a Google search for that. And there are other people who are helping to chart that course before you, and many people who are uniting and mobilizing in collective work and responsibility. Right here in Delaware, I think you will be truly amazed. And that's why we continue to bring our work together. This is our 6th year. To bring men and women in front of our boys and girls to show them who we really are and what's really happening. We don't have to fly speakers in from all over the country. We can tap into young brothers and sisters right here in this room, in this space. Our elders who have been doing it for a long time, and we're honoring those individuals during Raising Kings Week that's coming up. One thing that's really compelled me, other than the leaders and the people, and I'm so inspired by the young people who are doing things, is, when I think about Martin Luther King and who Dr. King was and his life experiences, he was not always the great respected leader that we see today. He was incarcerated, and he wrote a letter from a Birmingham jail, and in that letter, he said that the greatest tragedy that history will have to record during our time of social transition is not the strident clamor of the bad people, but is the appalling silence of the good people.
Yes, yes.
Robbers they steal. Killers do what?
Kill.
But what will the good people do? We're supposed to do what? We're supposed to do good. We're supposed to do something. If you've ever seen that movie, John Q, the most powerful line in that movie, I don't care what you're talking about, you better do something. Now we're in that time right now where you better do something. Because we can't have history record that our generation was silent. We have to rise up and make a noise and lift our voice. And if you don't know what to do, there are plenty calls to action going out every day. You can go on social media and find the fight videos, or you can go out and find the calls to action. There's so much good things happening. Brother Joe, I know you do a meetup of business owners on a regular basis. I know we can't get to everything, but Nelson Mandela, we often talk about the first black president in the United States, not realizing that in our lifetime, South Africa had their first black president. So there's strategic oppression going on all over the world when it comes to black and brown people. But Nelson Mandela said this: we understand it's still that there is no easy road to freedom. We're talking about freedom and justice here. We're not just talking about doing something. And I'm excited about it because I see it happening every day, and I want you all to be hopeful and encouraged and to be engaged and act. We know it well that no one man acting alone can achieve success. We must therefore act together as a united people for national reconciliation, for nation building, and the birth of a new generation. Let there be justice for all, let there be peace for all, let there be work, bread, water, and salt for all. Let each know that for the body, the mind, and the soul have been freed to fulfill themselves in freedom. We have a lot of work to do. We're continuing to do the work. One Village Alliance is a platform to do that work. If you have an idea, if you want to be active, if you'd like to volunteer, if you have a social enterprise that you would love to house, you don't have to start your own organization. You can focus on your program because One Village Alliance provides that foundation. And we built that foundation in 2009. We have a strong reputation. We're doing great work. Some of the information that you see this evening talks about our Raising Kings initiative. When we think about the destiny that is being spoken into existence, it is being spoken into existence for our young men and boys of color, black and brown boys, Hispanic boys here, that they will end up one of two places by the time they're 25. That's an American psyche that we have got to destroy. Not only not repeat, but build our real story. And this is all about showing them who we really are. Not just boys, but girls, adults, people, white people, black people. We all are losing value in our men and boys of color. Some people talk about implicit bias. Have you heard of implicit bias? The word implicit means subtle, right? Covert. There's nothing subtle about the attack that's happening. Delaware has the highest incarceration rate for men and boys of color, anywhere on the entire earth, per capita. We are incarcerating more people in the state of Delaware, the second smallest state, right, than anywhere on the planet. Anywhere. New York, California, you name it. And our legislators are passing laws we've never had mandatory minimums for bail. You used to, if anybody's had to bail somebody out, don't raise your hand. If you had to be bailed out, raise your hand. No, I'm kidding. But, you could take 5%, so you could talk to a bail bondsman. Now, it went from a 0 mandatory minimum, average 5, maybe 10%, to a 30%. You have to pay 30% of bail in a country where we're innocent until proven guilty. So you're innocent, you're put in jail, and because you're poor, you gotta stay in jail. These laws are passing, so we're talking about our advocacy work and what we do in Dover, and some of you have been there with us. But sometimes we go 5 or 10 strong. We need to go deep. In 2030, we got 70,000 people living here, just in the city of Wilmington. And we need to be deep and strong when we hear about these things. Don't say, well, I'm just one person, what can I do? 51 people is a massive crowd of one people working in collective work and responsibility going down to Dover. They're right there. I believe there's 62 legislators in the Senate and the House together. I want you to go see what they look like. Your heart will break when you see what they look like and who is representing who in Delaware. We've got to go down and represent ourselves. And when we put out a call to action, we're talking to just you. Maybe call your sister, your brother, your mother, or your friend. But don't feel like these calls are action and not to you, because when we go down there 50 strong, we make the paper and we can stop laws from happening. We've got mandatory minimums. And this makes me emotional too. 87% of those incarcerated in the state of Delaware for non-violent offenses, they've never struck anyone, are black males. In 2012, when the homicide record was broken in this city, every single homicide victim was a black male, except for a mother, my friend Dawn Dollar, who was shot in front of her son in her back in a shooting that happened that did not involve her. So we have work to do here. Raising Kings is a call to action. It's usually just one weekend. This year it's a whole week, and we have some information on your table. But this is about showing our black men and boys who we really are by elevating the level of positive male engagement, positive images and messages in the lives of men and boys. So there's breakout sessions and a whole day conference where we're talking about entrepreneurship, etiquette, how to tie a tie, how to use sports as a platform for college, knowledge of self, your history. We're talking about all these great things, how to build a business, how to use social media responsibly, how to build up a social enterprise. We have a business pitch competition like Shark Tank, and we're putting our money where our mouth is. If you're a business owner, if you want to contribute, we need your contributions. This is not a funded project that we do, but this is our 5th year. We come together collectively and we invest and contribute in this way. So it's $75 if you'd like a table, or if you just want to sponsor someone or buy a t-shirt, you're helping. We provide breakfast and lunch. It's at P.S. DuPont Middle School, the full day conference. But we have an event on Tuesday at 1313 Innovation right downtown, $1,000 in cash prizes to young, aspiring business leaders and business owners. So everyone from age 8 through age 21, everything is completely free. You can come in, and we have the Horn program at University of Delaware. Garvey secured a $1,000 sponsorship. We're still raising more sponsors. If you've got kids that like to do a basketball shootout, we have $300 cash prize for a basketball shootout. If you're a man or a woman or adult who wants to go to Ferris School for Boys with us, there are nearly 100 young boys. We have five institutions in Delaware. Just in Newcastle County here in Wilmington, where we're incarcerating children. 5 institutions right here in Wilmington. We're there every single week. So our work is year-round. We have Raising Kings that goes to the Ferris campus. But on Wednesday, we are going to Ferris with we're mobilizing men to go in and mentor these boys. They're not locked up for life. Their stay is 18 months at the longest. And then they're coming back into our communities. We also have a mock trial competition so our children can understand how the justice system works that Jeremy Collins is leading. And on Friday the 13th, we're showing a film called 13th. Has anyone seen the documentary 13th? So we're showing that film with a talkback at Penn Cinema right on the riverfront at that movie theater. And it's going to be a great way for you to bring your children. Again, it's a $10 donation for adults that we're asking. All children 18 and under are completely free. We have 150 free tickets. If you happen to be someone who, movie tickets are like $17, $18 now. We're asking for a $10 contribution. However, we want you there more than anything. And then the Raising Kings Conference is happening on Saturday. Sunday there's a faith observance. And we're doing a fundraiser event. We have a new Black History Museum right here in Wilmington that many people have not been to. Has anyone been to the new African American Heritage Museum here in Wilmington? Well, on Martin Luther King Day, we have a dinner and a beautiful reception. It is a fundraiser, so it's the only ticketed event we have out of the entire 7 days. And we just invite you all, not only to participate in the Raising Kings Conference, but to really come on board. January is National Mentoring Month. We're not talking about dropping in for 1 hour a week. We're talking about lifeline, real relationships between men and boys of color and our mothers and women. There's a whole track in Raising Kings, our year-round work, that speaks to mothers and grandmothers who are raising boys, educators, practitioners. We want to equip people to engage our young kings. Because but for someone who had the tools, a mother, a mentor, educator, a practitioner that stepped into the life of Dr. Martin Luther King, Brother Malcolm X, we would have never heard of the great things that those brothers have done. So our call to action is to not just celebrate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, not just celebrate the 50th anniversary of KWANZAA, but to raise up the next generation of King leadership through the principles of KWANZAA and collective work and responsibility. So I thank you all.
Thank you so much. What a worthy cause. Would you agree?
Amen.
So I'm hopeful that you'll take what you heard tonight and join the effort of the One Village Alliance. It is a great program to get involved in. If you're not doing anything, we need workers in the vineyard. We need your presence. We need to show the rest of our community that we can come together. We can be unified. We can be unified. Thank you so much.
I want to just say one thing. When we greet each other with a baragani, that means, what's the word? And when we grew up, we always said baragani watotos. What's up with the children?
Yes.
And, America is ranked as arguably the wealthiest country in the world. We have the second highest child poverty rate in the entire world.
Yes.
So our children really, really need us. We're second only to Romania in child poverty here in America.
I think in the state of Delaware, there are some 732 children who are homeless. 732. There are homeless families. And I am proud to say that I'm a board member for Family Promise of Northern Newcastle County, where churches, if you belong to a church and you have a facility that could, like a classroom type empty spaces, that they could stay in for a week.